Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. Today we are doing Dark Winds Review, Season 3, Episode 6, called What Had We Been Told?
Safi's putting on her best AI voice. So anyways... One of the good things about this episode is the fact that Manuelita isn't in it. You know, when I think back about this season in the years to come, well, that's kind of inaccurate because I probably won't ever think about the series again after it's over. It's the fact that, like, this season has been... Because there's only 2 episodes left. And this season has been, for the majority... the Emanuelita show.
Yeah.
And she's just been a dipshit the whole season. She's had this stupid relationship story that didn't need to be there, which is funny because I'm usually the one who's always like pushing for more romance and relationship stuff because it's like they've taken that out of everything nowadays. But it was totally unnecessary here, and her character sucks too in this season. But another thing that I liked about it for what it was the fact that you wouldn't have been able to get this episode in seasons 1 and 2 because they didn't have the time. It's only here because they have more episodes that they could take a chance. And that's the point of having more episodes, is that you can take a chance. And I know that, you know, it is kind of a risk because the audience could fall off, which it's happened with me before where we used to watch the show Hell on Wheels, which was kind of like a mediocre show. It did feel like a real TV show, though, which was nice. But in Season 3, there just got to a point where I thought, this is stupid, I don't like this show, and I quit the show. But then I came back to it like a year later, and I thought, oh my god, that was actually really good. Because what was funny was that it was only after I quit the show that it got good again. It was only after I quit. It was the episode after I quit the show. So, this episode, though, I think that it was a breath of fresh air. Because it was so different, it wasn't like any other episode in the show as a whole, as a series. It also kind of felt like something that Fargo would have done. Because of the fact that they had the play. Because like half of the episode, or 3/4 of the episode was Joe Sleephorn going through his journey, his process of thinking about his guilt and what he did to BJ, and the other part is this play about this Navajo folklore story about these twins who fight a monster. And so that felt very much like a Fargo episode, and I think that's where they got the idea from.
Yeah, I think so too.
It reminded me of Season 2, the episode that I thought was a big letdown, the one where Martin Freeman narrates the whole episode, and there's some story about a fox and a rabbit or something, and I think they got the idea from there. So, Safi, why don't you talk about what you thought of the episode? And like keep in mind, this episode, not last week's episode, this week's episode. What'd you think about it, Safi?
Well, this last week's episode, not the Manuelita part, but the Joe Leaphorn part, spills into this one. And so the whole episode really is about his origin story, some factor of it. And and we talked about it before we did this video, and we were trying to think, why did they do this? And we're thinking not the structure of it, where they put what's going on with him right at the moment. He's been injured. He's in the desert, He's trying to find that boy. He finds him, and he sees the monster, etc. But why did they factor his origin story with this and what the play that they show next to it, which is like in some school auditorium on a stage with the Navajo lady telling the story in Navajo, and they go back, and they actually go back and forth, and then they put in this third prong, which is Joe's origin, part of his origin story, a very bad thing that happened to him.
His origin story.
So I don't know what else to call it. A horrible thing that happened. It didn't happen in the book, but they put it in there because we're trying to think, why did they do this? And we're thinking, well, it was a very creative way to show it, but it was also because they're trying to. We think they're trying to explain how he came up with the attitude he had with B.J. Vines, why he would have had this idea and how it relates to what happened to him. So that's our only, that has something to do with that. So, because ever since that happened, he did not kill him, he left him in the desert, but it has bothered him so much, he's having nightmares, he thinks this monster is following him. I think he thinks the monster is the ghost of B.J. Vines. I don't know. That's what implies to me. Like
I was
risen up from the desert to haunt him.
I was surprised that he never showed up, BJ. He never showed up in the hallucinations.
Yeah.
He was the one character who hasn't shown up. Well, besides the stupid teacher from last season, Mary, whatever.
Landrum.
That was a fail. Anyways, I really liked the episode, but the one thing I didn't like was I don't think that there needed to be an excuse for him to he didn't kill him, but to leave him in the desert because the guy killed his son. That was already reason enough. But they take it even further here, and they say, no, he has a very specific reason, which is funny that, like, the FBI woman doesn't even go into his past and look into that. As a kid, Joe Sleephorn was molested by this priest, and the priest would molest all the local boys. And the sheriff, who was also Joe's dad, he tried to do something about it, and there was just nothing that could be done, like, officially. And so he killed him. But he killed him. He didn't just
leave him in the desert.
Yeah, leave him in the desert. He killed the guy. And so you think about, that's a really good excuse to think like, oh, well, I can grow up and I can do the same type of thing. I can pursue Indian justice, and I can just kill suspects who don't get arrested and you know, without it's kind of a tricky thing though, because there is a good argument that like what his dad did was a good thing, and there is a good argument that what Joe did was a good thing. The problem that we have with it is not the argument of whether what he did was good or bad. It's the argument that it wasn't his character. And him having gotten molested as a child, Safi said that's not his character either. Like, that never happened in the books. So you add these things, and they change the character. They change who they are. I mean, Joe Sleephorn is a sexual assault survivor. That's a major part of someone's character if they're a survivor, even if they don't want to admit it. Safi?
Yeah, well, it's just hard for me. I guess, in a way, even though this part of the story, I mean, if I could be mistaken, but I don't think so, that this never happened, but the episode was basically about him. And in all these early books, the stories would just be mostly him. And especially in the books, the second book that this was based on, there was no Manuelita yet in the story. If there was, it was so minor. I don't even remember, but I don't think so. I don't think she was around yet. And Jim's Chi wasn't around that much. And so it was all about him. And I just thought it was very creative, the way they brought in this Navajo story and it being told in her language. You know, and as a true thing, when the Navajo first started on their reservations and they set up these stupid schools and they made their kids go there, and they weren't allowed to speak Navajo. They had to learn English, and they get in a lot of trouble if they spoke Navajo. So it's really good that they had the language and then this myth, and then they have Jolie porn and this incident that's befallen him in the desert. He's going in and out of consciousness, and he's sleepy, yes, but he's also, because it's late at night. But he's been almost mortally wounded. He's very close to it, and in the books that does happen. He gets shot, but that's later on in the book series. But when he does this, he's going through this journey of what is this monster? I mean, the monster's coming into his vision, and that's what he sees it. I think when he comes to save the boy, he sees the monster hiding around where the boy is, and that he's going to attack him. And then he attacked him. That's where he got the arrow and whatever happened to his leg. And that was from the, quote, monster. So this is all about him. The whole story. There's no like Marco said, no Manuelito, no Jim Chi.
I think a question is, that still hasn't been answered. What can he do about the whole BJ situation?
Yeah.
And I think there's an issue there. He's not going to get arrested. He's not going to get put in prison. So what can he do? My fear is that they're going to use this as an excuse for him to quit and for someone else to step in, for Jim or Emmanuel Lita to step in his place. He'll be like, you know what? I did something I should not have done as a sheriff, and it was not right for me to do that, so I'm going to quit, and I'm going to give up my position. I really hope that they don't do that.
Well, I don't
because
because that didn't happen like that.
Nobody would want that.
If they're basing it on book 2 and book 16, how could they do that? Because what about books 3 through 15?
Well, saying...
He's not out of the force then.
I'm just saying, what can he do? Like, he can't really do anything about it except, like, move on. Like, he didn't even kill the guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, in the books, he eventually retires because he gets older. And he also was shot really badly, almost died. And both of those things together, but everything was more set up. And, Jim Chi takes over. He's in his position, and then Manuelita comes up there too, and she's not working with the Border Patrol anymore because, well, I won't say anything about that, but anyway, she goes back there to the reservation. So anyway, but that doesn't happen until way later, so I can't, but I can see what Mark was saying, that I could see them maybe doing that, but I hope not, because that just doesn't make sense. There's just too many other things that can happen, that talk about in the books, or they can add their versions of the story. I hope they don't. Some of this modernness, we already complained about last week with Emma and Manuelita and her, quote, relationship with somebody that they have no chemistry at all. Those, I call them modern things that are in there, I don't like. I don't think they need them. To me, it doesn't help the story. But then we'll see about next week with Manuelita. But the thing with Emma, I have no idea how they're going to resolve that. but I don't like it. It never happened, and she wasn't like that at all. Not one bit. And so it makes her look like a biatch, which I really don't like at all. Nobody ever looked at her like that in the books, ever. So I don't like that part. So I hope they kind of dispense with that stuff, because it doesn't add to the story in a positive way.
And talking about the villain of this episode, which
let's talk about
there are
that.
two villains. Number one,
Yeah.
this is basically like a Scooby-Doo episode now. And there is a part at the end where he says, "This isn't a monster, it's a man." And I thought that was kind of cool, because it's like he's getting his confidence back, the character, but at the same time, like, I don't know, like, he was already like his character earlier on, and now he wasn't, like, he lost his way, and now he's getting back, but like, I hope that that's over now. I hope that next episode he's back to who he was, because I'm sick and tired of this now, where he's like, he's going through his period process or something, like his character. He's going through menopause or something. His character.
Menopause.
And I just felt like that was funny with the Scooby-Doo monster, because you just think about, like, what if in Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger shot the Predator, and then the Predator was like, "Ooh!" And then the Predator runs in the forest. It would be like, that'd be pretty underwhelming. It'd be like, wow, how did that Predator kill all those guys? How did the Predator kill Jesse Ventura? How did he do that? You know, and here we're kind of thinking the same thing. And it's fun, because, like, why is whoever's doing this, why is he playing a Scooby-Doo character instead of just
showing who he really is?
Evading capture, hiding, running away, you know, not getting caught. Why is he hunting people in a monster costume? Like, he's basically preying on how Navajo people believe in monsters, which...
He's taking advantage of that negative belief, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's a shame that, like, he isn't a real monster, because it would have been kind of interesting to have, like, a supernatural... You know, when I was a kid, I think I've already told this story, but I had to do a book report, and I chose Skinwalker, which was the one with Joe Sleephorn, and it was called Skinwalker, or Skinwalkers. I thought that the book would actually have a monster in it, and it would be about a monster, but it wasn't. It was, Safi told me it was just some guy or something, and I was like, oh, I'm not reading that. So then Safi read it, and she did the book report for me, and because I just picked out a book that I didn't give a shit about, and that's what happens.
Bad, isn't it? Bad.
Well, I mean, Safi should have told me that book didn't have a monster in it. I mean, she basically just...
No, I didn't lie. I just thought you would understand that.
Because I was picking out based on the cover, and I thought, there's got to be a monster in this one. There's a skull on the cover, and it's called Skinwalker. Because I think, like, it'd be cool to read, like, a monster story about a Skinwalker. It would have been cool to have a real monster on the show instead of having a Scooby-Doo character. And also, I wanted to point out that they had this priest villain on this episode. And it's funny because you think about all the villains from the previous season. Season 1, you had that boring guy with the bandana. You had the bald guy who killed himself from Breaking Bad. He was a wimp. And then you had the Taco Bell woman. She got her oven set on fire when she was making Mexican pizzas, and Emanuelita beat her, so she was really weak. You know, she couldn't even make a Mexican pizza. And then in season 2, you had the bomber guy. He had a really wimpy, weak ending where he just gets shot by BJ.
And he was a really good villain. It's too bad they didn't make that last longer, because in the book it lasted a lot longer.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of ruined his character, though, with how they ended his story. And it's funny, too, because it's like BJ killed that guy in cold blood. The FBI agent doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
And then you have BJ himself in season 2. He was a terrible character. He was boring as hell. He wasn't scary or intimidating at all. And he sounded a lot scarier in the book because it sounded kind of like the way that he treated his wife, I guess. But, like, yeah. So you compare the way that the priest was in this episode to all those villains. The priest was so good at actually playing a villain. He actually felt like a real villain. And he was scary. He had a bit of a Joker persona, a little tiny bit. He had a good hero-villain dynamic with Joe Sleephorn. So I just think it's ironic that this character who has long been dead, he was a better villain in this one episode than all the real villains of the show have been in the series.
Yeah, and I just think too that they were trying to be very careful with it and really portray him as he would be in real life, because they did have priests who were like that, and all throughout the country, not just on a Navajo reservation. And they didn't get in trouble for a long time. And the story is Joe's father had found out what happened to Joe, and he talked to all the authorities he could talk to, and he couldn't get any conviction or any investigation, nothing on the guy, nothing to happen. And he said because he was white, he was a priest, and that they just wouldn't do anything, and that's why he did his, quote, Indian justice. And I don't think Joe Leaphorn had remembered that. And it took this incident in the desert to bring all that to his mind. And it was a process, like Marco said, like this journey that portrayed in this play about the two Indian boys, the two Navajo boys, finding the bad guy and what happens. It's the same. It parallels. The two things parallel each other. So Joe realizes by the end what happened with his dad and the priest, and that also when the monster gets shot, because he did get him with the bullet, he goes, ah! That was so funny. And he goes, he's not a monster, he's a real human being. And then he sees the blood too. What monster bleeds red blood drops that go on a trail all the way throughout the desert? What monster, mythical, supernatural monster bleeds and goes, ah? So like Marco says, it's like a Scooby-Doo person. I can't wait, because I can't even imagine who this is supposed to be.
I think the funny thing is that if this was a Scooby-Doo episode, they would have
already found out who it was.
They would have solved it in the first episode.
He'd already be in jail.
They would have gotten him because they were so good. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah, well, Emma's character has really gone downhill. And it's funny because even in Joe Sleephorn's hallucination nightmare dream things, his wife visits him in a jail cell. He's handcuffed in this jail cell. She visits him and she still gets on his back and bitches at him, even though it's all hallucination. She rags on him for not having built a fence to protect her vegetables, so now all the vegetables have been gotten into.
They're torn up and eaten.
And he asks for a key to his handcuffs, and she says, what you need is right in front of you. And it's like, no, what I need is to catch the killer who's trying to kill this kid while I'm stranded out in the desert. Because that's why I think the scene was so bad, is because it didn't feel like it was out of character and it was like a hallucination for her to be doing that. It felt like something she would actually do in real life. Like, even though she would know that he had to go, like, save a kid and pursue this bad guy, like she would be like, where's the fence? You haven't built a fence yet. Yeah. Because that's what they've turned her character into in the show.
Terrible.
And so she takes out a key and she eats it and she walks away, and it's like, yeah, this is totally what they have turned that character into. And it's like, why did you do that? Like,
I don't understand it.
Like, because I'm trying to figure out, like, what are they meaning by this? Is she the key? Like, if he makes up with her, is he gonna be a balanced person again? Like, is that what they're trying to say? Like, if he makes up with her, then she'll stand by him and not tell the woman, the FBI agent, anything, and so then it'll all be put to rest? Like, I don't understand.
Well, that's the thing, at least about this story. You can kind of guess the Manuelita part, what's going to happen with that. But this part with Emma and their relationship and the FBI agent, remember, they were supposed to have her over for dinner. And
they're not doing that now.
No. But still, the FBI agent already said, if you don't talk, you could be, and to me, this is kind of like what sometimes cops will do to get someone to talk, to reveal some needed information for the case. They'll make up a story, like especially for somebody younger.
Safi does that a lot.
Go to jail.
Safi does that a lot.
What?
Safi does that a lot. She says, okay, Marco, if you don't want to eat McDonald's, then you're never going to eat McDonald's again.
Well, what I'm saying
I'm
is,
just
anyway,
kidding.
in fact, we'll see something for the next episode that kind of relates to that in a way, but still, we'll see what happens. I hope that they try to write her character back.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look good, and I don't know why they would think that would help the story.
Even if it was a modern show, this is kind of and I thought it was like a sexist stereotype, but in a lot of modern TV shows and modern movies where there's a male main character, you'll have all these female characters, and all that they do is rag on the main character. Like in Better Call Saul, the way that Kim complained about Jimmy, even though she loved doing what she did with him, and she was the orchestrator. Like, the female characters aren't supportive. They don't like the male characters. They treat them like crap. Even in Loki, which was a show that I only watched 2 episodes of, and I quit it because I couldn't stand it. Like, all the female characters did was just rag on Loki and just treat him like crap. And it's like, why do you think that this makes for good storytelling? That, like, you have a male character who hasn't done anything wrong, and then you have a female character who just shits on him all the time. Like, there's nothing interesting about that at all, because it just makes the female character not likable. It makes them like it makes you turned off by them by their presence, because they're so nasty and so and just so impersonable.
I don't know, because I just hope they write back, right the ship, so to speak, because it doesn't do anything for the story. And what are they going to do? Have them get a divorce? I mean, nothing like that ever happened. The only thing they could do, but see, I don't know how many seasons they're anticipating. I guess they're winging it because they know they have next season. They don't know what happens after. She gets sick. Her brain, she has a brain tumor.
It's a modern TV show, so they'll probably just do 4 or 5. Well, I would say a good change from the books is you don't have to have her get sick in the show, and she and Joe Sleephorn can just be happy together, and that'll be the end of that. And I think that would be cool. That would be a nice change, because, like, the book series was pretty long. I mean, it's like 20-something books or whatever, about 20. That's a lot of books. especially if there's only like one a year, two a year,
19.
one every other year. That's a long time to get all those books, whereas this is a TV show that's only on a couple of years.
But I hope they don't do this modern thing because
Yeah.
it's the same thing that we were upset about before. Him going off after B.J. Vines, that was not in his character whatsoever. That was so anti-Navajo, so anti. It just want to look at his character. It's just totally not him. And the way he was acting, he was still, even at the beginning of this season, was still trying to act like that kind of in what he said and how he defended himself. And that's when he started having these nightmares about the ghost.
I forgot too, there was a really weird part of the episode where he has to dance with the FBI woman. And
what is that supposed to mean?
She's dressed up like a completely different person.
I hate her dress.
And it's just so weird seeing her in that different context because it feels like a different character when they dance together. And I was just almost like, wow, like that's the same person. Like, because like people for the most part aren't like their characters in real life. This was weird because she's playing the same character, but she was so different in that moment. And I did like the conversation that they had because she was less confrontational and less like hell-bent on destroying him.
Yeah.
And more just trying to explain to him why what he did was wrong and how he shouldn't do anything like that in the future. And I just wish that she would act more like that in real life instead of like how she acts, because I guess she's still, that's been a big part of this season is her story of trying to put Job Sleephorn in prison.
Well,
which is pretty
I think
weird.
The dancing, I think it's supposed to represent something else. Like he needs to dance with her. What does that mean? He needs to communicate with her better. I don't know. To have everything work out the way it's going to work out.
I don't know what he's going to do.
No, I don't either. I have no idea. And that's probably good, but that we can't figure that out. So
kill her too?
He's not going to do that.
Just leave her out in the desert?
He would have the government on him. They'd probably send him to El Salvador.
But you could just, but
no, I don't know. It's another mystery. Like, what are they going to do about Emma? That's one thing. I kind of think I know what's going to happen with Manuelita.
Emanuelita?
Is she going to go? I guess I do wonder if she's going to go back to the reservation, and she are going to get together because they do have chemistry. I didn't notice it before before this season. Yeah. I didn't think they did very much, but now I do. And because you can see the difference between her and that guy, the other border agent, there's nothing there. It's fake. And then her and she, it's completely different. It's like completely the opposite of each other. And so there are all kinds of things that there's 2 more episodes, which is good that they managed to kind of set it all out and show Navajo culture. You can listen to the whole Navajo story, her speak in the language, and you see one of their stories played out on a stage. Very simple stage story. I thought that was really good. And, it's good for people to see that. Well, that's why they like the books, too, because they had the language, they had the weather, they had the beliefs, they had the art, all bad things, good things, the whole thing. So you could see, you could really try to understand them the way they are, instead of thinking, oh, they're an Indian group. They're an Indian group that have did the weaving of the rugs.
It was refreshing though, this episode, and because it was so refreshing, I would give it a B plus. I felt like it was a solid episode. I didn't mention it, but my favorite part, there was a really cool visual where they showed a church in the middle of the desert, and it looked very surreal and dreamy, and it kind of looked like a picture that I drew for art class in 10th grade, where I did a similar kind of picture, and I thought that was really cool. But I really enjoyed the episode because I love how slow the show has been, and I love how it's taken its time, and that it took a chance like this. Because when you get more episodes, you get more chances. Just like if you have more bullets, if you have more bullets with you, you get more chances to shoot a bad guy because you have more bullets. Right, Safi?
Yeah, that's true.
What would you give this episode, Safi, from Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food?
I would I'd give it an A.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I didn't like the part about Emma.
Really?
It just scares me that they're going to do something bad.
Why is she acting like that? Like, she doesn't have any right to act like that. To Joe.
I don't know. They were just doing something weird. He's having problems with her. That's reflected in his sleeplessness and his being wounded. And maybe she has been asking him to build a fence. I don't know if they've ever shown that. And so we see that now. And it's just something so they could do something with that key.
You think they're going to have a part in the next episode where he builds a fence and all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, you remembered I wanted you to build a fence?
No, they're going to do something with the FBI agent.
Well, that's only one scene, Safi.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It's all made up, so.
Well.
So that's it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And we're nearing 700 subscribers. So we'll be getting there soon. So come on aboard and tell us what you think about this episode and Dark Winds, Tony Hillerman books, and anything else that you can think of. And did anybody see the Minecraft movie yet? So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.